Hey Stargazers, my name is Arik Xander, and I'm going to be talking about the forecast of July 22nd until August 12th. We are entering into a really intense cosmic zone during these 3 weeks. And there's a lot of really intense transits that are going on as well. At the time of this recording on July 22nd, we are at the end of the full moon, which is the second full moon in Capricorn, okay? And that's like a lot of earth energy. And we are going into really heavy times at the end of that full moon for the next 3 weeks after that. So you have to think of it like we have so many times in our life bad days. Each and every one of us knows what a bad day is. So you can kind of think of these 3 weeks kind of like a bad day. However, in my experience, in my life, how it's been also for so many people that I've helped, it's through those really intense times that amazing things come out of it, because there you grow, but not if you stay in it and you draw it out. You have to really learn, you have to really understand the lesson, and then you're able to kind of emerge from it in a new way. So it's like we have with this forecast for the next 3 weeks, we are hitting kind of like these heavy times, really heavy times. Now, what is amazing about heavy times is that they are very, very, very good for manifestation. So many times people are talking about being manifestors, and this is a good manifestor and that person's a good manifestor. Okay, you guys, let's face it. If you are born, you are a manifestor. You are a good manifestor. Being a manifestor doesn't mean it's not something you should put onto a pedestal. Being a manifestor is something we are doing all the time. Each and every one of us is doing that. How are we doing it? For example, with our fears. With our fears. It is so amazingly easy to manifest our fears. Why? Because we get really passionate about it, even borderline aggressive, and we're really good. We put so much emotion into our fears that then it's easier to manifest them. So when we say we want to be a good manifestor, what we have to really understand is that it depends on where are we putting our attention, where are we putting our focus, because we are manifesting beings and we are manifesting every single day, but it depends on where we are putting our attention and where we are putting our focus. Now, in order to bring things from ideas and from these lofty places into earth, into manifestation, we have to get the idea, or have the idea, or receive the information, which could be from someone, or it could be from an experience. And then we have to figure out how to manifest it. And so lighter times, like for example, lighter times of the year, like Gemini, or it's Aries, for example. These are lighter times. This is really good for getting those ideas and getting those insights. Very, very good. But the heavier times, like these next 3 weeks that we're going to go through, beginning also on Leo, is a fixed fire sign, lots of heavy energy, like unbelievably. If you think about heavy fire, it sounds like kind of, how could you imagine heavy fire? But think of a coal, that is really hot, okay? But it's also heavy, and it requires a lot of pressure in order to make a diamond. So the thing that we need to understand is that during these heavier times, things are manifesting much swifter. And it might not be that it's going to be tomorrow, but it's like a lot of the data is being downloaded. It might not be necessarily installed, but a lot of it is being downloaded. Now, the thing is that the heavier things in our realities, in our bodies, in our minds, they will download with that heaviness faster than anything else, because you have to think, if you're downloading a file and like maybe you have like it needs to have 100%, and you could have 10%, 20%, 75%, and then eventually 100%. Okay, the files that are loading that are closer to 100% are going to be a lot faster, like they're going to be completed, they're going to be manifested a lot quicker than the ones that are like at 10%. Okay, and let's just say that it's a really big file. Okay, so it takes a lot of time. Now, and also it depends on your connection. You know, how fast is your connection? How fast can you download things? And so the things that are heavier in our life tend to be the unresolved emotions, the things that something that we all have. Each and every one of us has this, and if we don't think we have it, then we need to like really get real about that, and we will see it during the next 3 weeks until August 12th, is this energy of fear, which is breeding also hatred. Okay, and from hatred comes all kinds of things: jealousy, envy, lust, greed. All kinds of things are coming from hatred. So because hatred is so heavy, and it's a lot of us have not resolved the hatred within us. Let's just take the current landscape of what's going on in the world. So many of us hate people much more than we love our neighbor. Okay, so I'll expand on that in a second, but there's just so much hatred in the world within us that we need to heal. But the thing is, during heavier times, it's manifesting quicker. Why? Because like the law of attraction, it's like it just wants to take everything that's heavier, and then it can just bring it right into existence. And we have to, so this is really intense if you think about it. Now, if you have like a lot of love, if you have a lot of like spiritual miles under your belt, so to speak, then that, if that's heavier, then that wants to manifest as well. But we know that it's like the greater the light, the bigger the shadow that's being casted as well. So that's what's going on specifically. I'm going to get into the transits in a second, but this is kind of like an overview of what we can expect, because the way that actually astrology is working, and what I have been doing the research and teaching about, is that it's manifesting through our energy centers, our chakras, and then it's being distributed throughout our energy pathways into our organs, into our glands, into our muscles, and then it's kind of seeping out and then creating our aura and then rendering our reality. Now, all of that energy, or like that personal chi that we are like syndicating within us, is depending on the data that we are downloading, which is dependent on where is our focus. Do I go to this site? Do I go to that app? Do I open this book? Do I open that page? Do I pick up that article? Do I read this article? Am I studying my practice, or am I following, the funny cat videos? Or like, what is going on? What is the energy that you're downloading? I listen to this publication. I subscribe to that journal. All these things, whether you realize it or not, are brainwashing you. And that's just like a neutral thing. It's just brainwashing. So, and then you're going to manifest whatever you are accumulating a lot of. That is what it is that's going to manifest during those heavier times. Now, it's amazing, because if we can shift our consciousness, shift our focus during those heavy times, then it's an amazing opportunity to manifest something else. And like I said in the beginning, we all have bad days, but we can still make something great of it. And that's why I call this the razor's edge. Like, we're walking the fine line. This is what this is about, the razor's edge. Okay? So we have to really understand that we are going through a shift, a collective shift. We're in the middle of the year. Believe it or not, it's already July, almost August. And the planets are doing something really big, really intense, and it's going to kind of like turn everything into another direction. So we're going to have intense transits. And one of the first transits that we actually had already was that the planet Mars has moved into Gemini. The planet Mars has moved into Gemini, and it's going to be in there until September 4th. It's going to be in there until September 4th. And so this is really like, and then we're going to have another key date that you need to understand is that on August 14th, Mars is going to meet with Jupiter, but that'll be another video. That'll be another class because that's outside of the, like just right out, shy outside the 3 weeks forecast we're doing here. But that'll be a really big time that we're also building up to. So with Mars and Gemini, we want to be very mindful of our words. It'll be very easy to misspeak. So we don't want to go into gossip. We don't want to go into evil speech. This entire transit, this entire 3 weeks that we're going through is about, rather than manifesting hatred, because that's just going to be the default setting. That's also how astrology is working. If you're not doing anything, it's going to manifest just the default settings. But if you are aware and you're changing your system preferences, then you're going to be able to manifest what it is, like where, like depending on where you're putting your focus. So this is about manifesting love, but specifically manifesting love that started out as hatred. Okay? So this, and I know hatred's a really intense word to use, and it's often triggering people when they hear this word, because we have so many self-identities that we do not allow ourselves to be honest about our hatred. But truly it is there. Anytime you are jealous, anytime you are greedy, anytime you are rejecting someone, anytime you are making a judgment on people that you don't even know about, or even people you do know about. So this is about converting those arrows that we are shooting or that we have shot into heart emojis. Okay? So in order to do that, we have to look at our fear. What are we afraid of doing? What are we afraid of not doing? What are we afraid of having? What are we afraid of not having? Fear breeds hatred. And we can heal that with the love. So the love that is coming from hatred, that has been transformed. Anytime we are transforming hatred into love, because let's face it, they are the same side of the coin. They are two different sides of the same coin. It is extremely powerful because hatred is a very low energy. And if we can elevate that energy up into love, like what we should also be doing like throughout the Leo season, this is really, really powerful. So you guys will specifically see this, with this transit of Mars and Gemini. We see this with our words. Since the time is very heavy, the energy wants to manifest. And it will be the easiest, and the dark, like the real state of the dark forces and like the dense energies, they will be the easiest to manifest during these 3 weeks. Okay? So what that means is that it's a prime time for us to discuss important matters with our loved ones. Anything that, like conversations that need to be had, rather than thinking about it in the middle of the night, have the conversation. They will be way more engaging. You want to bring it to resolution, and like future plans, past experiences or issues, all of this can be resolved. However, be gentle. Explore new ideas. Don't fight for your ideas. This is about using that, because Mars the default setting is to fight, but if you are using it appropriately, you can use it to be adventurous, to explore, to get your ego out of the way. So just be very mindful how you're communicating. A lot of times people, especially during this time, they can like attack you, and we might even attack. So just be very careful how you are communicating, because the energy is high. There's going to be the potential for misunderstandings, but just be an active listener, clearly express to avoid conflicts. And if it's not going anywhere, walk away. Just walk away. Okay? This is about controlling your mind. All of this is very, very important, because that heightened energy can lead to impatience. So we want to just, if you don't know what to do, if it's just getting too intense, just be patient, be mindful, take the time to reflect on your actions and your words, and you're going to like avoid unnecessary words, because so many times, especially if we start getting in that attack mode, we start saying things that we're going to regret. And maybe you won't emotionally regret it, or you won't mentally regret it, but I tell you right now, every time you are saying, like, talking nonsense, talking gossip or crap or evil speech, you are like, you might as well just light all your projects on fire. They're just gonna all go like to mush, okay? So just really no complaining, none of that. Just especially during this year, because it's a really powerful manifestation time. This year, you do not want to misuse that energy at all, okay? So, there could be differences in communication. It can lead to all kinds of misunderstandings. Just try. The goal needs to be clarity, understanding, negotiation. What does the other person want? What do I want? How to get there. Do not jump to conclusions, okay? Now, today, very interesting, because once again, at the time of this recording, July 22nd, the sun is in the final, he was in the final degree of Cancer, and now is in the 0 degree of Leo. And these days, whenever the sun is moving from one sign to the other, like with the solar ingression, these days are always packed with a lot of karmic energy. Why? Because whatever we didn't work on in the past season is going to be carried over to the next year. So the issues you didn't resolve during Cancer season this year are going to be copy and pasted into Cancer season next year, in the same way the issues that you didn't work on the Cancer season of 2 years ago, they were copied and pasted into Cancer season last year and all the way back. It's like, that's why things are happening in cycles. So it's like a shift into a new season, which is like, oh my God, now all the issues that I did not work on in Leo season last year are representing themselves in very important, unrecognizable and recognizable ways. Both, okay? So we are now into this Leo energy, and whatever we didn't work on not only will be in next year, but it's going to impact the zodiac progression that began in the spring equinox, okay? So Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, next is Virgo, and then we hit Libra, and then we're halfway through that year. So that's a journey. From Aries to Virgo is a journey. So not only are we impacting each seasons of each year, we are also impacting those steps that we need to take, that we've been working on, like the seeds that we planted back in Aries on day 5, for example. Okay? Or whatever it is that you've been working on that's going through that journey of the zodiac. As the zodiac progresses within that sign, then of course on that zodiac journey, that's how we are also manifesting things, working through ourselves. Really, basically though, all we need to do is to just purify ourselves so that we don't manifest that garbage. That is essentially what this is about. But on the first day today, we have, and I have the chart here. Okay, this is the chart, the beginning of these like 3-week forecasts that we're doing here. We have here the sun is in opposition to Pluto. If you see, the sun is 0 degrees Leo, Pluto is 0 degrees Aquarius. And you know, from the 2024 forecast, I did a whole thing on Pluto and Aquarius there. There is a lot going on with that in and of itself. And the sun opposes Pluto once a year because it takes 1 year to go around. But what are the odds that it is on the first day of Leo, in a really intense time, at the end of the full moon, the beginning of this intense 3 weeks, opposing Pluto that's been dancing back and forth between, you know, Aquarius and Capricorn at 0 degrees, like exactly. What are the odds? This is really insane. Like this is once again a cosmic a cosmic thing here going on. So we need to talk about that, because this is, of course, one of the big shifts for the collective. In a nutshell, what this opposition is bringing up is how we will be confronted with how our goals might hurt others. That's what really this is about. How our goals might hurt others. So this is an example of this, is kind of like, say you have a soccer team, okay? And on that soccer team, they're supposed to play as a team. But say there is one player who wants to just be number one, wants to be the best player on the team. Okay? Now, this is just a metaphor, okay? It's kind of a very simple metaphor, but you can think of it for your own life. Now, what if you consider now for a second, what would that do to the other people in that reality? What would that do to the other people in that reality? What would it do to the coach? What would it do to the other players on the team? What would happen? Okay? For example, it could be that this person, like this player, wants to like overshadow, stand out, have all of the attention, and like make all the play decisions, get all of the credit, all of these things, and there's no teamwork going on. Okay? It could be hurting so many other people in the process, where it's like, maybe this is not the proper way that this should be going about. Another example, actually, this was a situation with a client that he wanted to have a really big tree in his property, like a really, really big tree in his property, like the biggest tree on the street. So, okay, like I spare you all the details, but this tree, what happened was the tree arrived and it was there, and it manifested, put it that way. And what was not considered was how the tree would impact the other plants. Okay? So this guy wanted this huge tree, and that's what he wanted. But he did not consider how it's going to impact the plants, like with the shade and all kinds of things. Never mind how it would impact the neighbors. Okay? So that is like, and that's a metaphor, once again, for our own life. So what happens to all of the people based on our kind of goals that we want, which we know they are selfish, and we know how we can know that they are selfish by if they are hurting us. Okay, if they are hurting us. Because in the end, with these kinds of goals, like I want to be number one, I want to have the biggest thing, I want to be the best this, you do not think about how it's going to impact other people, and you're going to hurt other people, but eventually you're going to hurt yourself. So this opposition is bringing that to light, where it's like, okay, that's what you want, that's what you fall back on habitually, what it is that you want out of your life, because the sun is like your will, but Pluto's kind of like, well, let me show you what's going on here with that, how it's going to impact others. So a course correction is what's going to happen. I mean, it's like, and then the goal can change. Like for the soccer player, it could be like, for example, he says, okay, I just want to be a good player. Like I want to be the best that I can be, for example. Or with the tree, it's like we can find solutions for this. We can consider like maybe, I mean, in the end, it was like, you had to like kind of like get a landscape artist and figure it all out and, do all these things, very important. But there are solutions. And there are ways that we can prevent consequences, like unforeseen consequences. Pluto says, here's an unforeseen consequence. I put it on the table, and then you can decide what you want to do with it. So this is kind of like what we are being looked at now when we're trying to make choices in our life, which, I don't know if you've ever noticed, but anytime we're trying to make a choice in our life, we get extremely self-important. We get extremely like defensive and fearful, and no one can tell me what to do because this is my choice. Well, the thing is like I'm saying, if you allow God to just like come in and take care of things, as long as you're doing the work and making the space for that to happen, you don't have to worry about a thing. But if you're trying to control everything, and if you're trying to like just be selfish and make the right decision, it's really not going to pan out properly. So the other side of the Pluto and the Sun transit is about a lot of hidden truths are going to come to the surface. So the Sun in this part of Leo, it's about, on one hand, it's about conflicts, it's about the competition, it's about the chaos that is part of the creative process. Now, Pluto in Aquarius right now is signifying this purification through defeat, purification through loss, okay? And this is often due to power struggles and the necessity of overcoming kind of like dominating forces. Now, we have to be very mindful and very careful and aware of how low we are willing to go in our standards when it comes to making decisions based on hatred. Remember, these 3 weeks are about turning that hatred into love as much as that we can. And the opposition of Pluto and the Sun is intensifying this. So there is going to be power struggles that we have with our ego, and we're going to see it in the collective. There's conflicts that can lead to profound transformation. Because when we purify through loss, this is how we are transforming hatred into love. For example, you make your defeat, your loss, into something that purifies your hatred, your greed, your jealousy, your complaining, your victimization, your self-importance, all of that. When you're learning from failure, it's so important to understand, because when you perceive yourself as failed, it means you have failed to help others. Okay? It means you have failed to assist others in their advancement. Remember, going back to the goal. Why am I doing this? Who is this hurting? Okay? So And if you can really see where you failed to help others, that it's going to provide you with so much insight and the opportunity for rebirth, growth, and wisdom. 100%. So the opposition with the sun and the Pluto is a lot of potential for this kind of creativity and this tension, where the drive for the self-expression and the creativity, which is the sun, is really being opposed by the deep transformative forces that challenge and really kind of disrupt our efforts. That's Pluto. So this can, once again, result in a time of intense struggle where, for example, creative projects or those personal ambitions are going to face obstacles and opposition, but for the point and the purpose of reflection. To reflect, to see what I was just talking about earlier about where is this helping others, where is it not helping others? And then Pluto wants to give us all the power to transform through the heaviness. Pluto is tiny, but it is mighty, and the sun is the biggest, and it has lots of light and expressive energy. But I would say Pluto is stronger, okay, because it's also impacting so much of the collective. And we don't really know what's going on with Pluto. With the sun, it's like there, obvious. We see totally what's going on, but we can't even calculate Pluto astrologically. We have to agree on, because nobody knows where it is. So it's kind of like a blind spot that's coming into our awareness. And this can lead to huge growth and purification, where we're getting that gunk out of the heaviness that's already a heavy time. And then we can say, okay, like there are heavier places in the world, okay? I know this just from traveling. Some places are heavier than others. And in those heavy places, it's really good you can manifest stuff. You can really bring stuff down to earth. Now, I mean, okay, like I said, everything in balance, we have to understand that. But if you have so much negativity, that is what's going to manifest. And if it's manifesting, then it's purifying. So it's win-win. It's win-win. But when we get victimized and we complain and we attack because we're purifying, well, then I'm here to tell you, please be patient. Please be patient. You know, where are you going? Where are you going? Obviously not very far. So you need to purify so that you can understand what's going on, okay? And if you have the resistance to this, then you have to purify more. We tend to resist healing. We tend to resist the things that we need to do. And that's again, the razor's edge. Because when we are resisting the things that we're supposed to be doing, this is bringing up intense inner conflict. Like unbelievably, like then it's like, I mean, we all know what that's like. But like I said, the universe will have its way and it will purify and strip away all of that stuff so that it's going to pave the way for this renewed self-expression and this creativity. All of that, okay? So this is the beginning of this, but it's going to echo up throughout the weeks. And like I said, this is ending on August 12th. Now, August 12th is a really, really heavy negative time. And this is based on the lunar calculation, because we have different calendars, like the Buddhists, for example, using the lunar. There's so many different calculations, but the what's going on August 12th is historically has a really negative, what's called a samskara. So anytime you go into like a restaurant or someone's home and you go like, oh my God, this energy is horrible. There is also that for certain times of the year, okay? And this is one of these times because so many things have manifested in that portal that is was utilizing that energy with that heaviness. So, for example, there were the destruction of both of Solomon's temples by the Babylonian Empire, and then the second temple by the Roman Empire. This happened both times in Jerusalem. This was like a huge destruction of a place of spirituality, for example. Then there was the first crusade that happened, this was really horrible as well, like killing 10,000 people. Then there was all kinds of expulsions that have happened out throughout Europe and England throughout the years, throughout all the times, really intense. And then in 1914, Germany entered World War I. This was exactly on this day as well. This was, creating massive upheaval, really bad. And then that eventually led into the Holocaust. And then we had in the also on this day, and then in 1941, it's really interesting because 1914 and then 1941, it's the same numbers, just rearranged. Then it was Himmler received approval from the Nazi Party for the final solution, and that, we know that was really bad as well. All kinds of immense calamities have happened throughout the ages during that specific lunar date, that star date, we can call it, okay? So that is, once again, unresolved stuff manifesting in heavy places and then being pushed out. Okay, so what is the proactive approach here? What can we do? How can we deal with these adverse events? Well, first and foremost, instead of getting all worried or succumbing to despair, it's like the focus is on what? Transformation. Transforming these experiences into something positive and something constructive and something beneficial. And I'm like, if you're too scared of this, think of in your life where you've gone through something really difficult and you learned from it and it taught you something. My whole childhood was like that, and I would not change a thing about it because I would not be where I am today. I would probably be, I don't even want to say where I would be now, but I would not be happy. I would be just really, dead probably. Okay. So I wouldn't be here talking to you. So this is like the misfortune and the tragedy. They are catalysts for change and for growth. And anyone who tells you that spirituality is flowers in your hair, candles by the moonlight, being all nice and well, they don't know what life is about. If you can reframe experiences, they can become sources of motivation, and you can bring about new opportunities. So, and you can turn lemons into lemonade. I remember Aurelia did this beautiful workshop on this, and it was amazing because that's what this is about. So our desires here, they are referring to the drive to improve and to move forward. There's a saying that goes, we say it in the States, you really know someone how they behave in crisis. And that's what this is about. You're being tested. What is going on here? So while the opportunity highlights the potential for positive outcomes, but even in these difficult situations, that's what this desire is about. It's about driving, how much do you want this? Do you want it so much that you're willing to purify your hatred? Or do you just want to relay your hatred because you want to be right? So this is an opportunity that we can create structure and meaning from the chaos. And we're raising ourselves to a higher level and as we are raising ourselves from these lower levels, the power, it increases. So these 3 weeks, all the times that we have fallen, all the times that we have lost ourselves, we can pick ourselves back up. But as we pick ourselves up and as we elevate, we have to transform, because the lighter you get, the higher you go. But then you have to come back into the heaviness to bring that light into the dark, which is where we are. And that's, once again, what the Pluto opposing Sun is doing. And this is going to be, it's going to be a little bit difficult because of these 3 weeks. And during these 3 weeks also, Mercury is going to go retrograde. Okay, Mercury is going to go retrograde, and it's just reminding us, yes, misfortune, tragedy, they are part of life. Anyone who tells you different is delusional. And that chaos and that disruption that comes with it, they are opportunities to grow. That's what Mercury is just going to be reminding us of that, 100%. Shift your perspective. Look at what you need to change, because the thing is, like, we are approaching the equinox, the autumn equinox, where then the reboot is happening. So we want to be mindful. We want to introspect, turn our negative expectations into positive outcomes. Very important, because so many times when we get into that fear, we are expecting negativity. We are expecting to be right. And once again, we are so-called manifestors, manifesting our negative expectations. You know how difficult it is to remove, like, the self-fulfilling prophecies? It is almost impossible until you go through something like this, through misfortune or tragedy. And even still, I've seen, even still, I mean, it's still very difficult. But let's just kind of open our minds. Pluto opposing the Sun, Mercury retrograde. Let's shift our perspectives. Not holding on to our negative experiences and turning our experiences into expectations. No. Done and done. We can ignite new desires and recognize opportunities that were previously hidden. Pluto's saying, let's bring it to light. So finding that silver lining and using adversity to fuel your goals. And then you can really know, when you're coming from that right place, that it's not going to hurt anybody in a negative way. Of course, it might hurt, the people close to you, because they don't want to see you change. But really, we need to see who we are supposed to be. That is what the gift is this year. Who is it that we are supposed to be? And are we doing it? And maybe you have new orders now. You needed to be this yesterday. You needed to be that 10 years ago. You needed to be that 5 years ago. You needed to be that 1 minute ago. Who is it that you're supposed to be now? And then reset the rest. Let it go. Reset ourselves from what went wrong. And then you reawaken the God within, or the goddess within. And this isn't about going into fear or being afraid or complaining or being victimized or being hateful. Because from that point, we'll always find the expectation that's going to manifest our experience. But this is actually about finding the light and healing and staying on the spiritual path. And once again, if you think the spiritual path is about the flowers, and if you think it's just about the mercy and all the allowance that comes with it, then I invite you to actually step onto the spiritual path. People do horrible things. You do horrible things. You have done horrible things. And these things have consequences and they need to be cleaned up. Otherwise, they manifest in all kinds of calamities. And that is the only pollution we need to be, considering. Okay? So this is not a time to avoid situations, even though I do not suggest starting anything. Okay? We don't want to start anything. We just want to purify. But it's a perfect time to reflect, to grow, to transform, because essentially it's a good point before that equinox when we need to return, do our atonements as much as possible before them. We can purify, we can cleanse our karma all the way down to the cellular level and to bring in healing. And this is what's really so amazing, because as we are getting rid of the garbage, we are making space for the light to manifest. But when we hoard onto our garbage, into our unresolved stuff, we don't invite anything to come in. And we can just say, well, I'm going to manifest this and I'm going to manifest that. If you really want to manifest, purify. Purify. Because you purify, the light will going to come in. It's going to manifest something so much better than you can ever imagine. Than you could ever imagine. I really pity people who say, okay, I want to manifest this, and then they get it. How unfortunate. How unfortunate. You could have had so much more. So much more. So no, it's about really opening up, bringing that light in, and we do that by shining light onto the subject. Because if you really knew what you were manifesting, and then if you got it exactly how you wanted it, how many times has this happened? And then after a while, it gets boring. It's so much better to manifest, and you say, it's so much better than I could have imagined. The unimagined life that we often talk about. Okay? And this includes healing. This includes wealth. This includes relationship. This includes even your hobbies. Whatever it is you want to do, any of it. If we can transform, then we can make these miracles. But once again, shining the light on the subject. Walking that razor's path. Razor's edge. Because, yeah, it's so easy to complain and to be victimized. That's not going to get you anywhere. The fear, although it's very convincing, and we will fight to make our fears valid. The fear is a fast track of manifestation. But love is more powerful. It's even faster. Why? Because, like I said, we defend our fears. Because we feel better when we know what our fears are. I know that is there, and it's there, and no one can tell me otherwise, because if it's not there, then I don't know where it is. The same thing with the manifestation. If I have exactly what I want, then I don't have to expect anything new. I don't have to change. I don't have to change. So I know the fear is there, and it could be like a thing or a situation. I know this is going to happen. So at least I'm not afraid of the unknown. But I'm telling you, if you are afraid of the unknown in this healthy way, then you can have so much more than you could have ever imagined. So much more. Because the alternative is you wait for something to happen. And you want something bad to happen just so you can be right. I want to hate this person that I see in the news so that I don't have to love my neighbor. so that I can be right, so that I don't have to be open to the good or to the unknown. We would rather go to bed with a known evil than be open to the unknown good. The better the devil you know. We tend to congregate on hating a common enemy more than we want to love each other. I can't even tell you how many students I've just seen come and go, and I've heard stories. It's like, you know, you make a common enemy around somebody and you think you're bonding, but you're not. You're not. And this applies also to employees, people that you work with, your neighbors, everywhere. And what happens is we create all kinds of horrible things, and that destroys us from within without moving a finger. But so the goal is move into a happier place. And to do that, you have to overcome the formidable enemy, which is your ego. And he has a purpose to show you exactly what it is that you need to work on. So whatever's triggering you during this, these next 3 weeks with these intense transits, that's going to show you what you need to work on. So you can bring it into your awareness. And the way that we are letting that light of God in is, once again, purifying, making the space, not occupying that space, filling it automatically with fears, but receiving the gifts. Like, you want to serve a meal, clean the table. Okay? Clean the table, because on August 12th, this is the last transit I want to mention, we have a really intense transit happening actually also on that day, is the black moon. Okay? The black moon will be aligned with the south node and opposing then, of course, the north node. So once again, this is about the fears, overcoming the fears, and the collective karma. Seeing, exactly what it is where we need to go, and what is it that we need to release so that we can bring something new in. Okay? So that's been the forecast for the next 3 weeks.